Chef's Backyard, Salmon Florentine with fettuccine noodles. Here's Johnny.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Tonight we're gonna do something different. We're gonna make salmon Florentine. A couple of weeks ago we made chicken Florentine, so we're gonna draw inspiration from that dish, but tonight we're gonna make it with salmon. We'll serve it with some pasta. You guys ready to cook? Let's go! All right guys, so here's what we're gonna need. We've got spinach. We'll need some heavy cream. We're gonna use a little white wine. Of course, we have our salmon. We've got some garlic, a shallot, lemon. We've got some Parmesan cheese, some butter, and our noodles, our linguine noodles. So let me show you how to prep this up. All right, let's get ready to cook. Put on our apron. That's gonna protect your clothes, keep you from making a mess on your clothes, maybe get them greasy. Don't wanna do that. We'll protect our hands and the food by putting on some gloves. And now we'll get our cutting board ready. Remember, we're gonna put a mat or a wet towel, and then we'll put our cutting board on there, give it a press, and that'll keep it from moving around. We've got some garlic, and we've got a shallot, and we've got our lemon. We'll get those guys prepped up. Let's see. We'll do the lemon first. We will cut off a couple of coins. We'll use that for garnish. Do the same over on this side. And then we can take this and what we're going to do is we're going to cut it into segments. So you'll just take your knife and run it towards the skin. And we'll want to get rid of those seeds, but this will make it easy to get rid of the seeds. Now we can do just a gentle chop through that. And you can dump that into the sauce while we're making it. Wipe down our cutting board. All right, let's take our garlic, give it a press. You can remove a couple of cloves. You can add as much or as little garlic into this dish as you like. Take one clove, press down on it with your knife, and that will help you to remove the outer peel. Do that again. Take your knife, press down. Those little end pieces are kind of tough, so I'm going to remove them. One of the things about garlic, if you are shopping in the store and you notice that there are roots on there, that's going to tell you that this is garlic that was grown in America. If all of the roots are gone, it's coming from imported from another country. Just an interesting food fact. So you can smash your garlic cloves. That'll help you to chop through them. You can also add a little salt on there. That'll help it to kind of stay in place. As you're chopping through it. The longer you chop, the finer your garlic will be. All right, I like that. Pick that up. Now we're going to prepare and mince our shallot. What I'll do is I will take this guy and cut it in half this way. Remove that little end piece. Take off the outer paper skin. You can leave this part on. It'll give you a nice little handle. You can slice through it once or twice this way. Now slice through it this way. The closer together, the smaller the dice you can get. And then we're going to turn it. So the flavor of a shallot is going to be somewhere between a garlic and an onion. It's kind of a mild garlic, kind of a strong onion. Go ahead and pick that up. And there we have our minced items. We've got our lemon, we've got our shallot, and we've got our garlic. All right, and so for our salmon, this is 3.5 pounds of salmon. Okay, so for tonight's dinner, we'll need about half of that. And we'll save the other half for another dish. All right. So we'll cut that in half. and we'll save that for tomorrow. All right, so for our fish, we want to check and see if it's got scales. It sure does, so we don't want to eat that skin, okay? If you want to eat the skin, you want to remove the scales, and then you'll leave it on there. You can leave the skin on there. Scales can get caught in your throat, so I don't advise eating the fish with scales. One of the things that I like to do with salmon is to kind of clean it a little bit, right? After I get it on the cutting board, I want to run my knife along the flesh there, and that's going to help to kind of clean it up just a little bit. It'll get whatever's up on the surface off of there, and it'll help to dry the fish, and it will also help to give you a cleaner tasting fish, okay? You want to run your finger along these two sections. You're checking for bones. If you feel any bones, you want to pull them out. This feels pretty clean. Now let's see, how many portions can we get? If I use my knife, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, perfect for my family. So one way to remove the skin is to go ahead and get to where your portions are, and you're going to cut down to the skin. You should be able to feel it, and then once you get down to the skin, start angling your knife. And you can remove the skin. Now, take your knife, grab your skin, press your knife towards the board, pull up and lift the skin, and slide the knife away. It's a little bit easier if you have a slicer than if you have a chef's knife, but you can still get a pretty clean cut off of that. So now let's continue with those portions. We'll take this to the sink, and there's our fish.
Okay.
All right, guys. So in this recipe, we're going to deglaze the pan with some wine. I'm going to use a white wine. This is a Sauvignon Blanc. Let me show you how to open a bottle of wine. You'll use a wine opener. This is called a waiter's corkscrew. And it's got a couple of parts on it. This is called the pigtail, and then this is what you use to help get leverage to pull the cork up. So insert the pigtail into the cork. You're going to want to turn it about 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then bring this part in. This is and grip it tight. Pull up. This is going to give you leverage. Now the waiter's corkscrew is nice because it's got 2 steps on it, and that gives you the leverage you need to easily open your bottle of wine. And you can pour a little bit in the glass, and then we're ready to cook. All right, guys, let's season our fish. I've got some garlic and onion powder. got some salt. And then we've got some black pepper. Set that to the side. Now into our pan, we're going to add a little bit of olive oil and a little bit of butter. We're going to let that melt and get hot. And now we'll add our salmon into the pan. Then we can go ahead and season this side as well. You just want to cook it for a couple of minutes per side. Keep an eye on the heat. You're not trying to get it super hot. You want kind of a medium heat, maybe just a little bit above medium. I'm going to turn the pan around, and that's only because it's slanted, because it's tilted. And so then that way this is going to come towards me. The oil will come back towards me. All right, let's see if we can turn this salmon. I'm going to need a spatula to get under these guys. So right now the salmon is at about 90 degrees. All right, so this thinner piece of salmon is already done. Set it aside on a plate. Looking for an internal temperature above 120. If you want your salmon cooked well, then you want to cook it over 130. Just let it cook, don't be in a rush. Remember, control your heat. You might need to turn it down, you might need to turn it up. While we're cooking, we're going to use all of our senses. We're going to use our eyes, we're going to see what's going on. We're going to use our ears, we're going to hear what's going on. We're going to use our sense of smell to smell it, and if you can smell it start to smoke or burning, then you definitely want to lower the temperature or remove it from the heat altogether. All right, that guy's at 120. All right, guys, there's the first step. We'll set that to the side, and we're going to start building our sauce. All right, guys, so I've lowered our heat a little bit. Okay, guys, so let's start building our sauce. We're going to add our garlic. We're going to add our shallots. And as those shallots are cooking, they're releasing water. And so that's helping me to start deglazing this pan. And you'll see I'm pulling the bits from the salmon up into this sauce that we're building. The butter is beginning to brown. The shallot is beginning to caramelize. You can see it start to change color from translucent. Now we're going to add some of that white wine. You can go for about a cup. And now we're really going to use that to help pull everything up off of the bottom. And you want to let that cook down and reduce, because that's going to concentrate that flavor, and this is going to be the base of your sauce. It's also going to help you when you're washing dishes, because you're pulling up all of the stuff that you might normally have to scrub off of a pan if you're not deglazing. And just let that continue to cook and reduce down. It's smelling really good right now. Let it continue to reduce. I'm just going to build flavor. And that's what we want to do. Keep on working the pan. Let it reduce. We're getting a good reduction now. We'll let it go just a little bit further. Now a variation, instead of adding the cream and Parmesan to turn it into a sauce, you could just add butter. You could turn off the heat, add butter, and do sort of a beurre blanc and serve that over your salmon. That would be delicious. But let's see, right now we've got a good reduction going on. You can see how the pan is, you're able to keep that streak going through there. Now is a good time to add those little bits of lemon. And that juice, you can go ahead and squeeze that core if you want to, if you want to add more juice. But we'll just add a little bit. Oh man, this smells wonderful. All right, I think that wine is kind of reduced by half. Now we can start adding in our spinach. This is 9 ounces of spinach. One bag. Seems like a whole lot, but it's really not. So you've got the steam coming up from the wine that's reducing. You got the heat from the pan, and that's cooking your spinach. You can push that down. You can give it a stir. This just takes a few minutes, guys. Keep working it. Spinach has a lot of water content, and that's why it will wilt and cook down really pretty quickly. You see that? There it goes. It's reducing down really nicely. Just keep it cooking. I'm going to pull a little bit of this out for my garnish for the pretty plate. All right, you see guys, that's all cooked down. Now I'm going to add in this pasta. And we're going to add in our cream. I'm going to go ahead and pour that all in there. If you need to add a little more cream or add a little bit of water, that's okay. I'm going to add just a little bit of water to kind of pull it out from that cup. This pasta will only take like 2 minutes to cook once the liquid in here boils. You could add some tomatoes in there. You could do sun-dried tomatoes. You could do some little cherry tomatoes. I'm going to turn up the heat a little bit. That way we can get some boiling going on. And pretty quickly you can start to see some boiling going on. You can add in some of that Parmesan cheese to help thicken this. It's okay. You can press that pasta down into the liquid. That way it'll start to loosen up. All right, you see that pasta? You see the liquid starting to boil? I'm going to flip the pasta over. We'll just flip each one, and what that's going to do is it's going to help distribute that heat. Now, if you think about it like a clock and you start across from you and just turn every one coming this way, that'll make sure that you don't miss any of them. It gives you a system to work with. Go ahead and give those a little press. One of the things that is happening because we added in the cream and then the pasta's pulling the cream into itself, and that's going to be making the sauce thicker. I have this plate that I bought a couple of years ago, gray. I think that this dish will look nice on that. It'll add a point of contrast. Now you see the pasta is starting to loosen up. Give it a stir. We'll let that cook for like another minute and a half. Then we're going to turn off the heat. You can hit it with a little bit of nutmeg, and that will kind of mimic the flavors of a bechamel, which is one of your first white sauces. That gives it a kind of a savory note. Give that a stir it in there. You can top this off with a little more cheese. Give it a stir. The heat will melt through that cheese. The cheese will help to thicken the sauce. I'm going to turn the heat off. Now at this point you might want to try this and taste it for seasoning. See if it needs more salt or pepper or whatever else. I think it's right on. Right? We seasoned the fish again in the pan. Yeah, I think it's good. I think that's perfect. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is we'll move this over. Move this guy. Let's take a picture of the process. Now let's take some of this pasta, try to get it right there in the middle. We'll grab our piece of fish, wipe down the tongs, because we're gonna do this for the photo, right? I think that this piece is probably the prettiest. We can do our piece of lemon there. A little bit of the spinach, kind of lay that around, get into that shape. Another piece there or no?
Next to the one.
Next to this one?
Yeah.
Kind of like that, all the way across. Coming across, a dash of nutmeg for color. Now let's take that picture. Trying not to cast any shadows, that's the hard part. Let's see. One of these will be the thumbnail. All right.
Take one from this side.
Here, go ahead and get it. Do I need to turn the plate any? All right, thank you. All right, guys, so let's give this a try. Let's see. A little bit of the pasta. So one of my daughters just tried it and she's over there dancing. Here's the bite. All right, guys, so here we have it. We've got our salmon Florentine. Let's take a bite. You know, that sauce is real rich. Maybe you could double the cream for this amount of recipe, so that way it's more of a sauce. With this one, since we seared the fish, I've got a nice little crust on there, and that really came through on the finished thing. And that's how come I put the pasta and sauce on the bottom, and then we left the fish on top. I think this is a great recipe. I hope you get a chance to try it real soon, and we'll see you soon here at the Chef's Backyard.